Hey guys, I just wanted to get on here and talk about why there's a little bit of a delay. I was about to start making the next batch, and so this is the old buttons I had, and I was doing on a roof, and there's a metal roof, and I set it down, it slid down the roof a little bit, so I grabbed the hose and pulled on it for it to come up, and one of the buttons must have caught on a little screw or the edge of the roof or something, and it popped this plastic button part off. And then I could see the internals of the switch and the silicone. There's a little silicone like wafer in there that makes it all waterproof, and that came out as well. So all of a sudden I'm trying to get these shipped out, and the button failed. And I've been using this for months. That never happened, but it happened one time right before I was about to ship these out. So I want to kind of let you guys know, and that was unacceptable. If this is not waterproof anymore, it doesn't do anything. It's worthless. So I had to find new buttons. That was not acceptable for it to do that. If it happened to me one time, it's going to happen to somebody out there. So started looking around for new buttons, and here's the old buttons. So I don't know if you can kind of see, but there's the old buttons, and here is the new buttons. Here is the new button. So this one's all aluminum, and I actually destroyed it trying to take the cap off. So you can still see there's still silicone in there. It's still waterproof, even though I had to destroy this thing to make it look like this. I wanted to test it and make sure, how is this going to fail? And so I'm glad it failed, because I didn't want it to fail out there for you guys. So got new buttons. That was great. But then you look at the footprint. You can see against my shirt, the footprint is different. So these ones are much closer together, and the new buttons are farther apart. So that was another thing that I had to fix. So one problem that ended up turning into a bunch of problems that I had to solve. So I make my own PCBs. That's been an awesome experience too, just having to learn new software. But this solves all the wiring problems, so I don't have wires going everywhere, and it's a little remote. You can't have a bunch of wires everywhere. So I had to learn how to design my own PCB, and that's a whole art form. It's pretty incredible diving into that. But so I had to change the PCBs. I use JLC PCB. They're not a sponsor, but maybe someday. But I love it. It's been amazing. I have it at my house. By the time I click order, they review it and all this stuff, and I have it from clicking order to it showing up at my house is 6 or 7 days at the most. And it's been fantastic. But 6-7 days, now all of a sudden it's another week that I had to wait. So that was one issue, the button size. The tabs won't fit in there, so I had to redo all this. So now it has the correct spacing for the buttons. But then the other problem is it's taller. So these buttons are taller now by just a couple millimeters, about 3 millimeters. So what that means is that the screen, the PCB is now lower compared to the screen, which lowers the screen down. So now the screen was going to be too far away from the surface, and I didn't like that. That needs to be spaced. So and then with that happening, now the battery used to be below the circuit board, and now I have to put it above the circuit board. So I had to rearrange all that stuff. And if I put the battery above the circuit board, well, now I have to move my BMS. So a BMS is this little module here. This is one of the ones I use, and this goes on here, and this basically takes the input voltage when you're charging your LiPo battery. So it's a LiPo battery. LiPo batteries are not like other batteries. The charging, when it's depending on the voltage level. So if it's down at 3.3 volts or or less, 3 volts, you don't want it to go below 3 volts. But that's part of what this will do. It will stop it from going below 3 volts. It'll just shut off. If it goes down to 3 volts, it'll shut everything off. But if it's down to 3 volts, when you're charging it, I believe it's constant amps when it's low, and then as it charges up to 4 volts, 4.2, it changes to constant amps and variable volts, or vice versa. But it's a weird thing that's all in software, that those have to be charged a certain way. You can't just put 4.2 volts to them. They don't like that. They like to have a nice charging module. So that's what this is. So BMS, battery management, something or other. That's what it stands for, battery management something or other, BMS. But anyway, so then if I move the battery on top of the PCB now, then I had to move the BMS. And so now I got new PCBs coming because I had to move the BMS way down here, and so that I could still fit the battery above. So anyway, it was one problem, the buttons. Cool, no big deal, put new buttons on it. Well, now this doesn't fit, that doesn't work, I gotta move this, I gotta do that, change the PCBs again. But all the problems are solved. I've been super happy being able to get the PCBs in that quick of a time, and it's not quick enough obviously, but from China it's 7 days to have my own custom PCB is amazing. Yeah, and then I changed, so now you can kind of see, it's not on so it says unknown mode, but now the buttons are smaller, they look nicer, they work amazing. Although, see, this one doesn't, so this is one, and I did like a marble kind of shape, you know, scheme on there. I think it looks classier, it looks cool. But this button doesn't work. Why not? Well, there's another problem that came up. So if you look on here real close, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but there's two little holes on the top and bottom of this. And I don't know if it's going to focus or not, but there's two little tiny holes. I didn't think anything of it, no big deal. I put it all together, put the resin in, and go, all the buttons worked beforehand. Then I go, after it's all dry, and the button won't press. I'm like, what happened now? What is going on? So I check out the buttons, sure enough, these little holes in there. Something happened, the air bubble came out or something, and a little bit of the resin got inside of the button, which won't let it press. So, another problem. So again, here's another wasted one, right? Just, you know, now the button doesn't work because it got resin in there. So, I found an easy solution to that. I get the soldering iron and just melt the plastic a little bit, cover up that hole, and then it worked. So, everything's good. Again, all problems are solved now. Now it's just build them. So, those of you who are waiting, I'm sorry. Here's the explanation of why it took so long and why I'm a little delayed on shipping these things out. Thank you for your patience. I've called everyone and had a personal conversation. When I say I'm going to ship it out, I feel bad that it's delayed, and so I don't want to send a text or an email. I really want to give you guys the best product possible, and I made personal phone calls to everyone, hey, explaining what happened. You guys have been super gracious, and thank you. It's early, so these are the things that happen. But I'm glad all these things happened at once. All these little failures and all these little things happened at once in the last couple of months, so that way I learn from it, and I get to fix the product, make it the best it can be for you guys. So I love mine, you know, even though the button came off, I put a new button on it. Not something I expect you guys to do. I want it to last, but I'm still using mine, and I love it. This thing is awesome. I go out and use my gun now, and I'll pick up my gun, start walking to the house. Like, what percentage am I at? I don't look at the valves. I look what's my mix, and I look at my gun. I'm used to it being on the gun now, and I absolutely love it. That's where it should be. And if it's not on there, I'm like, oh no, I gotta go get my remote. And so then I put it on the gun, but that's where it is, and I know at all times what my percentage is, what my mix is, what my soap's doing, and I can change it on the fly. So it's totally changed the way I work. It's changed my workflow having this here, and I can't wait to get either a cheap shot or a bigger gas system, and where I can rinse with it as well. I mean, that's gonna be the ultimate, where I can change all of my percentages, soaps, and everything from the gun, see where I'm at, and rinse with the same one if I had enough GPM with a gas system. That's the killer, you know, for cheap shot. Anyone who bought a cheap shot, that's the first customers have all bought cheap shots. This really is going to be a game changer for you. You're going to love it. You'll never want to be without it. Anyway, that's where we're at. I should be shipping these out. I'm going to start production back up again now with the new buttons and all the new PCBs, everything good. So getting production back underway, and we should be shipping these out soon. And then I've got some more demos and some more stuff coming. So appreciate you. Thanks. Bye.